So find your soul and the world will use it.
Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Searching for a Meaning podcast with myself, Richard Glover. The podcast is going to be aimed to talk to creatives and inspirational, motivational people about their journey, what they do, the problems they faced, and hopefully it can inspire you and motivate you to do whatever it is you want to do and to search for your own meaning. Uh, really excited for the first guest. He's a good friend of myself, a big supporter of not only our music but live music across Western Australia. So we'll just jump right into it. It's Dino Summers. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. How are you?
You go, mate. You good?
I'm very well, thank you. It was strange to have the that brief catch up at the beginning because obviously it's been so long since we've actually spoke. I wanted to kind of chat to you properly, but I didn't just want to get into all the good stuff and then repeat it again for this. So it's going to be exciting to hear about what you've been up to. Um, for those who don't know, Dino just a couple of months ago just completed a fantastic journey, walking from Bunbury in Western Australia to Sydney. Um, Raising awareness and money for mental health illnesses, and it's something that's I'm sure all of us have experienced or know someone who has experienced it. And the walk is an absolutely incredible story. So, what gave you the inspiration for that?
Well, we've talked briefly about it before, but personally myself, I've suffered depression most of my life. Not realising what it was. There was no term for depression. Um, so pretty much just gone through my life pretty off and on with suffering. So in 2000, I had a suicide attempt myself, and I was fortunate enough to have someone walk past the house and see what I was up to, called for assistance, and it's touched me quite a lot through my life, and I've had several friends take their lives. So on that side, it's pretty close as well with the suicide. So yeah, August last year, I had another mate that passed through suicide, and kind of felt myself spiral a bit, and I hadn't been there for a long time, and just felt a bit down, and I just felt like I just had to raise awareness. Just there's too many people taking their lives, and I was it wasn't only my mates that were passing; it was my mates' mates that were passing as well. So I just felt compelled to raise awareness. That, as the saying goes over here, that it's okay not to feel okay at times, and so yeah, posted on my Facebook page one day that I was going to attempt this epic journey, and then wake up the next day and, well, you're an idiot, mate, because you just told half the planet that you're going to walk across the country. You got to go now. But I always knew that I was going to do it. I planned it like 7 years ago, but found my passion and kind of swept it under the carpet. And August last year, the timing, everything just fitted into place, and it was just, I felt, time to do this now. Just time to get the word out. So I took off.
So how long is it you've been back for then now?
It's just on 2 months now. I
Wow.
finished, started on the 23rd of August last year and finished on the 4th of April this year. So just over 7.5 months.
That's mental.
It took to walk across. I actually thought I was going to get done by Christmas, but the country's a bit bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's weird to hear an Australian say, well, Kiwi say that Australian, because whenever we are over there, or Brits, you kind of go over, you see Australia on the map, and maybe it's the same for you looking on the map from New Zealand. You go, oh, Australia's not that big. Then you get there and it's like, oh, so how long is it going to take to drive to Melbourne? Or how long is it going to drive? And it's like, oh, it's gonna take you a week or 2 weeks. And you're like, Christ, it's big. I think like the UK fits into Western Australia 17 times. I think
Well,
it's like third. I don't know what it is for New Zealand, but I think
mm,
I think it fits into Australia like 30 odd times as well. So it just kind of gives you, and so much of it's just empty as well. It's just so much of it
yeah,
isn't being used. So it's there's that comes into doing the walk as well. I suppose it's a weird contrast now. You spent pretty much over half of a year outside walking and doing all this to suddenly coming back and then being with the lockdown and everything, because you would have you would have finished your walk pretty much just as everything was
yeah,
closing up in Perth at WA. Then would
yeah. I got in with 12 hours to spare before they closed off the Western borders.
wow,
Um, I when they said they were closing the borders, they'd already closed them. I had 280 k's left to go, and there was talk about them closing them indefinitely. And I actually packed it in and said, well, I have to get back to Western Australia, you know. But I thought about it and later in the night, and I thought, there's no way I can stop now with only 280 k's left to Sydney, and so I kept going and yeah, made it in there, made it, I don't know, 10 k's out of Campbelltown, which is a suburb of Sydney, and the plan was to go to Bondi Beach to finish there, but that was just a bit of a petri dish at the time, and it was very difficult to actually get into the city, and so many restrictions. And, yeah, it was just too hard. So the last day was pretty much making my way straight to the airport and finishing there. I didn't have I didn't even know if I was going to get a flight home. You know, all the flights were cancelled, and luckily I found a lady that was in touch with Qantas, and as soon as I actually reached Sydney, I had a flight home 40 minutes later. So
it must have been a pretty relaxing flight.
um, it, I must admit the last 500 k's were the worst.
Yeah,
It was I never had a time limit on the whole journey right across until then, um, and there was a town out of Sydney, 150 k's east of Sydney, that I planned to buy my tickets to fly back to Western Australia. And when I actually got there and I was told that no one's selling tickets anymore, and what flights are online are going to be cancelled anyway, and they kind of sort of gave me some false information. And so I was pretty much I'd pretty much given up that I was going to be stuck in New South Wales until the restrictions had been lifted. But so, which I
you could,
didn't want.
and you couldn't walk back either.
Funny you should say that, but that's another story. So um, yeah, so yeah, it was the end of it was pretty rushed, and to me it doesn't feel like the journey's over itself, and it didn't give it the ending that it deserved, and I wasn't expecting any fanfare or anything like that, but there was a few gigs back home here that were going to get um, set up for my honour and that, and to have a gig in my honour played at Badlands in Rosemount, hey, well, yourself, that's a huge honour for me.
Yeah,
Doing with what I do, and it would have been fantastic. But since I've been back, it's just been pretty much quiet, and haven't really seen a lot of people, So
but they slowly, at least over there, it's slowly starting to open up now. Like people, you can travel. I know from Perth now, you can go back and get out and travel across WA, even though I think the whole WA border is still closed off
yeah,
for outside. So it's good that like it seems that Australia and New Zealand as well, like the two countries that seem to, obviously for a host of different reasons, but they've been able to get this under control, and they're already
mm,
now looking at reopening. We're doing it here, but a lot of it's not quite the same. There's a lot more risk involved with reopening it with how everything is here. So it must be nice, kind of now having been closed off to slowly seeing the world open up again, or at least WA.
Yeah, it was like I had to do the compulsory 2 week self isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hey, you know, I just walked across the country for 7.5 months. I was going to self isolate for like a month anyway. You know? So yeah, had the police come around home and check to see if I was still home and that, which is, you know, I knew I had to do it anyway. You know, there was a chance that I was going to get put in a hotel or taken out to Rottnest. Like, hey, you know, 7.5 months on the road,
Yeah.
a couple of weeks out to Rottnest, you know.
It's a good holiday. I would have tried and pushed that.
Well,
Room service.
yeah, you know, it didn't matter to me as long as I was back in Western Australia. You know, she is a huge state. It took so long to get out of Western Australia. You know, yeah, so she's half the country just about.
Well, yeah,
And then,
and I imagine while you're walking as well, it's just I remember seeing your updates, and it'd be like weeks had passed, and it's just like getting closer and closer to the WA border, and it just kind of I imagine it was tenfold for you, but it just kind of put into perspective just how big of a thing and a challenge that it was. How
oh,
often was you scared? Like it must have been pretty. Like as soon as had your trolley and you left day one, it must have been like, oh crap! Like what am I doing?
well, strange you should say that because I left and I had no fear. Fear wasn't I wasn't around, and I couldn't let myself be scared. You know, I had to just stay focused on the journey and what I'm about to do, and just determined to get to my destination. I just it was just a matter of staying focused and why I'm doing it, and you know, out of people that I took a flag with me across the country, and the walk was called the Walk for Hope, and I took a flag with me, and had families who had lost loved ones through suicide to sign their name on the flag, and you know that was huge motivation and to keep me going, you know, and whenever I kind of had trouble keeping focused, just bring the flag out. Now it's got over 300 names of people who have passed through suicide, and I couldn't have asked for better inspiration to keep going. I felt every one of them was walking with me, and that helped disperse the fear if any come along, and it was great motivational piece. And I sort of done well for the families as well, gave them some sort of peace, that their loved ones on this crazy journey across the country with this Kiwi,
Yeah.
So I kind of a bit of healing. I looked at it for a bit of healing for the families as well.
And because I've never really, I haven't done any walking that extreme, but something I did want to discuss with you, which I think I mentioned it briefly when you told us about the walk, is just kind of how therapeutic walking is in general. And it's just like as soon as so many everyone walks everywhere, the time, whether it's just the bus stop or shopping, they're always distracted. They've got phone in the hand or music playing, or there's traffic going on, and it's just I find as soon as you get out there and you walk and you just the entire world just switches off, and it's just a very therapeutic thing, and it does wonders, which I imagine which is why people do things like pilgrimages and all these uh, walking holidays, because it is just so there's definitely a strong healing quality to it. Obviously it could, I was just wondering if you got that a lot of the time. Obviously there's a lot of external factors to come in, like stress and worry, making sure you're not getting bitten or anything like that, but what was the actual walk like for yourself, from that kind of point of view?
Mentally, it made me so much stronger in myself. Um, Spiritually, you just wouldn't believe what happened out there, and you'll probably have to wait for the book if there is a book.
And a movie.
in a movie. Things started to get really weird out there, and too coincidental to not believe I was being guided. Definitely being guided. I know that for sure. Down to being able to materialize things. I could be walking along the road thinking about something I need, and within a 10 meters up the road, I find it sitting on the side of the road. And that happened too many times that was happening all the way across. Just being able to materialize something that I needed, and yeah, it's just too crazy.
Well, it's funny that it's as soon as you mentioned that, it reminded me. I think it's probably like a week or two ago. There's the kind of book challenge going around on Facebook where you post like a book a day, that kind of thing. I posted The Alchemist. It's the only one I posted because I read it like once a year, and I don't know if you have read it, but it's a really powerful book just about visualization, really, and just about, if you like, the big quote from the book is, if you want something, the whole universe will conspire to help you. And it's just like, I often find when when you try and set yourself something to do, whether it's just when you want to achieve something, all of a sudden, as soon as you have that focus and drive in your mindset and you work towards doing it, like you said, something just kind of falls into place. And it's just so almost like fluid, flawless in a way, just how easily opportunities or in more physical things just kind of happen and fall in front of you.
That's right.
Are you able to give us... Sorry?
I could give you a quick example.
Yes, please do.
It was while I was on the Nullarbor. The food that I was eating, I was just doing it through the Snicker bars and the Moro bars. That was my snack food. Otherwise, I'd have a loaf of bread or a ham and all that there, or I could just keep eating that as I was walking, trying to avoid myself from stopping and opening the cart up and bringing all the cooking equipment out. But on the Nullarbor, with the roadhouses and the limited supplies they have at those roadhouses, my energy food and was pretty much just Moro bars and this.
It's just chips, really.
Chips and just anything that would give me some energy. And I was in the middle of nowhere, and I was not wanting to open the cart up and cook some dinner up, and because once I started walking, I always just wanted to keep walking, and that was the idea of having the snack food right in front of me. But this one time, I was actually thinking about this ham and cheese sandwich that I'd been given in Western Australia by this ambulance driver, and it was one of the best ham sandwiches I've ever had. I'm on the Nullarbor, and I'm sick of these Moro bars and this, and I'm starting to get a bit hungry, thinking I am going to have to open the cart up. And I kind of looked around, and I kind of asked if I was still being guided. And I says, "Show me that I am." And I said, "Bring me that ham and cheese sandwich." And no word of a lie, when I thought the word sandwich, this bus drives past me. And stops, straight away. This bus passes me and stops and pulls up. And this elderly couple got out of the bus and says, "What are you up to, Dino?" And I just says, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah. I'm walking across Australia, raising awareness for suicide prevention and mental health." And the gentleman goes, "Oh, would you like a coffee?" And like out there, a coffee, getting off the chair. I said, "Oh mate, I'd love a coffee. That'd be great." And his wife pokes out of the bus and says, "Would you like a sandwich?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I would." And she goes, "Would ham and cheese be all right?" And that was within 5-10 seconds. It was faster than that, asking for that sandwich, and that was just a number of things and that happened. And
yeah,
getting out there on another one, that was the best part of the walk from Norseman to Port Augusta. It was 1,632 k's of flat land and just the most barren, harshest. It was unbelievable. People would drive past looking at me like, "He's walking," they just couldn't believe it.
Don't pull over. Don't offer him a cup of tea. No, what are you doing? Don't offer him a cup. Oh.
Yeah, well, funny. That reminds me. It was like a 38 day, 38 degrees day one day, and I was off in the bush. I had, I had my tarpaulin over the cart to get some shade, and it was just too hot to walk, and you can't walk in that sort of stuff. And I was resting up in the bush in the shade, and this caravan pulled into this park, and like I was pretty much stripped right off, just in my shorts. And when they pulled up, I was actually dousing myself with water, giving myself a bit of a shower, and they took one look at me and took off.
Oh, it's like
And
the Good Samaritan, isn't it?
yeah.
Exactly.
And I just thought they must have stopped there to go to the toilet or something when realised I was standing there. But later in the night, I'd actually got to my destination, and there were a couple of caravans parked there, and I got talking to one of them, and he goes, "Oh, you're walking?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Oh, be very careful. We pulled into a bay about 40k back, and there was this guy that came out of the bush out of nowhere, and he looked real dodgy and all this sort of stuff." And I says, "How far? Whereabouts was it?" And I said, "I think that was me." "Oh no, it wasn't you. It was no, it was someone else." And I go,
No,
"No,
someone else. He looked like you, but he wasn't you. He was wearing a patch.
yeah." But yeah, just the looks I'd get out there, but spiritually, I definitely found myself out there, and she, the Mother Earth, or whatever you want to call it, we connected, and I grew to love her, and um, she looked after me, and she taught me her ways, and I still feel now there's a part of me still walking out around there. I kind of buried my depression out there, if you know what I mean, and had a little kind of ceremony for myself out there. And I know the black dog always follows me around and that, but if he ever rears his head again, and I know where I buried you, mate. So you can just get this back out there, and
And that's because that's what I find. It's like, even whether it's an hour walk or in your case 7 months, it's like as soon as you're out there, you're away from traffic, you're away from people, you're away from everything. You usually got no phone signal. You just switch off, and the only thing around you is the landscape, and that's all of a sudden that's what you're thinking about. That's what you visualize, and there's such a strong connection when you do these walks. And I do a lot of hiking, and you get a couple of hours into it, and all of us, the first hour or so, you kind of thinking about how tired you are, or how much you just wish you didn't bother today, or you're hungry. But then you get to a point where that just switches off, and it's just about you just constantly focusing on that step and that step and that step, and look, and you just appreciate what's around you, which you don't really get a chance to do otherwise, unless you actually force yourself to take a step back and just look at where you are.
Yeah, I never had any training leading up to the walk. I done what I've been doing since I know you, and then straight off the couch the next day, thinking that I can walk across Australia. I don't know if it was a bit of midlife
Just nip
crisis.
into the shop in Sydney. Do you want anything?
Yeah, but so the warm up was pretty much from Bunbury to Norseman, which is roughly 700-800 k. And then once I got to Norseman, I had the Nullarbor, or 1600 k of isolation ahead of me. So once I got to Norseman, that was kind of my point where I knew it was whether yay or nay, or whether I was up to it, or the body was going to be up to it. I arrived in Norseman with shin splints, and which kind of worried me, because I was up for this challenge to get across this desert, and so I rested there for about 3 days, and then thought, no, let's just go for it. And yeah.
Do you think it was tougher mentally or physically, the work?
Well, being a videographer, I wanted to film myself cracking. The idea of the journey was to show people it was also for people that suffer every day. And I included everyone. I never said that we are off to Sydney. I never said I was off to Sydney. It was always we are. And just for everyone that struggled. So I forgot where I was going. Yeah.
Just if it was tougher mentally or physically.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So the idea of the journey was to show that no
Yeah.
matter how hard it gets, you can keep going. And I thought if there was any place that I was going to walk across this country where I was going to mentally crack myself, it's going to be the Nullarbor. So
Mm.
I dragged my cameras across the country with me so I could film myself mentally cracking on the Nullarbor, but it backfired on me and it just made me stronger. So just
Damn you.
yeah, damn.
No, that's brilliant. And it's one thing I found fantastic and inspiring was just whenever you were posting your updates on Facebook, all of a sudden, you've got so many people commenting, and
Oh,
it just allowed, not only was it
oh,
great to get that support for yourself, but it just created this community and dialogue where
yeah,
people was getting behind you and
yeah,
were able to talk about their own experience with
yeah.
depression and mental health illness, and which, with for the last couple of years there's been that kind of, they're trying to break down that kind of taboo barrier where it's good to talk about what's bothering, it's good to talk about your feelings, which is really important. And so it's
Mm,
fantastic to see people being able to do that, especially over Facebook, because it is such a public forum. You
yeah.
are quite wary about what you put out there, but seeing people's stories, I imagine, just gave you more of a reason to carry on doing it.
The support through the Facebook is a great platform for that sort of thing. And on the other hand, I think it's a big problem with the youth suicide rate. So it's got its good points and its bad points, but it's a great platform to share the journey across. And uh, the support was just unbelievable, and I felt it, and I got it every day, and um, but it used to kind of crack me up, like I was above Melbourne somewhere, and like I know people were meaning good, and it was support, but like you got your mates sitting back home, and I'm not far to go now, Dino. You're just
Yeah,
about there.
keep going, keep going. It's like, you keep going. You, you're
Come
sat
off
on
the
your ass.
yeah. Okay, it looks close on the map, mate, but it's still quite a distance.
Get
But
a jog on. Hurry up.
yeah. So I had to kind of just kind of put myself in their shoes and not take too much offence to it and that, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it was just yeah, no, it was good. The support was just fantastic. It was just yeah, unbelievable. Especially it was unbelievable, really. It's people offering, complete strangers offering me their homes when they haven't even met me. I just,
Yeah.
we'll be home later. Just go and make yourself at home. Like, I never went into anyone's house when they went home. I couldn't. I just wait outside or do whatever. But like the generosity right across was just unbelievable. And like I was doing the walk, but it was the generosity of other people that were actually getting me across the country. So if it wasn't for them and the supporters and as such, it, I don't think it would have ended up like it did.
Yeah. And it just kind of shows how, especially when you look at Facebook, how this kind of disjointed we are, how many, there's so many arguments online and so many people negative or this, that, the other. But when you do something like this, it just puts into perspective what can be achieved when we get on with each other and when we're able
That's
to
right.
help each other out and be
That's
optimistic
right.
instead of being negative or hateful or pessimistic. And it's yeah, I was always seeing your updates of people letting you stay over, or driving, dropping you off a coffee while you're in the middle of
Mm,
nowhere. And it's yeah, it was nice to see that just strangers helping strangers.
mm,
And luckily it's nice that the media got involved and wanted to support it as well, because it just kind of put got that message out to more people as well.
Yeah, well, you know yourself. I like being on the other side of the camera, and
Yeah,
that kind of stuff kind of freaked me out. You know, it's live interviews on the radio and TV interviews and all this sort of stuff. And I didn't handle that very well, but I knew it was part of the journey, and I had to face up with it, because you know I put myself out there and had to accept, you know, this is part of it. This is part of creating the awareness that we need. And you know, like, I wasn't really going to tell anyone that I was going to head off. I wasn't even going to tell my flatmate. I was just going to wake up one day and push the card out, and away we go, you know. Because I was worried. I think I was, excuse the term, mental. You know, like, it's a crazy thing to say that you're going to walk across a continent the size of Australia, but I had I had support right from the start. You know, and one of my bandmates come around one day, and I was kind of hinting with what I was doing, and he just said, "What are you going to do? What are you doing, Dean? Come on, just spit it out." And I told him, and the response that I got from him was very overwhelming and emotional. You know, because I didn't expect it. It was the complete opposite from what I was expecting. You know, and I would have loved to have been able to sit back here in person, watch it from your guys' point of view. You know, one of my mates actually going across the country. You know, I think it would have been unreal to see it from another point of view. You know, I look at now, I don't even feel like I'd done it.
yeah,
It does seem surreal, and I look at some of the footage that I got, and I just think, what were you thinking? You know, like, yeah, it does seem surreal. And near the end of the journey, I was like walking 30, 40 k's a day, and showing up at places, and it was just, I must have been so fit. It just felt like I'd just driven there and just jumped out of the car, and you know, I would be tired, but like nothing like I was when I first started. You know, and I'd done the whole journey at 5k at a time. You know, there was 5k road markers all the way across Australia. And I just, every 5k road marker, that would be my break. You know, I wouldn't be walking to Sydney. I'd be walking to the next road marker. You know, and 5k's at a time, and that's how we got across.
So, yeah. How many Ks was it in total then, the entire trip?
Yeah, around about 4,438.
Oh.
Yeah. So, we averaged, I don't know, between 30 and 40k a day. That was comfortable. At the start, we're only doing 20, 30, 25 k's a day, you know, and they kind of worried me, because I couldn't really calculate how long it was going to take me until I'd actually done a few weeks walking, you know. And so it's kind of like, and then as I'm getting into those 2 weeks, and then realizing, oh my God, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought it was. And I already knew before I left home that I was going to be out on the Nullarbor leg of it, like for 54 days, I've calculated. And that was a worry, knowing that I was going to be out in that area for that long. I'd never been out on the Nullarbor before. I'd never crossed it before. I didn't even know what it looked like. I knew that I had to respect it and take enough provisions out there, so you know, plenty of water and food and stuff. And so yeah, away I went into the unknown. And
were there any ever times during the walk where you genuinely thought that you weren't going to make it?
No, I never let that thought into my head. I only probably, probably near the end, when I realised the borders were closing, and realising I'm 280 kilometres away from the final destination, and I had to stop due to the borders getting closed. It was either I jump on the plane then and get back to Perth, or get stuck in New South Wales until God knows when, you know. So I was in this town called Bunbury, and I pretty much called it that night. I rang up a member of Parliament that I'd done some film work for, and asked his advice, and he said, "No, get back home then, because the borders are going to close and you won't get back in, blah blah blah." And I was gutted. I was devastated knowing that I only had 280 k's to go, and so I pretty much called it quits that night and thought, oh well, sign of the times these days, and it made me realise how really bad this virus is. And so so this town that I was at had nothing in it where I could put the cart or even suss out a flight home or anything. It was just a small town, and the next town was Goulburn away, which was, I don't know, 60, 70 k's away. So I had to walk there anyway. So by the time I walked there, I was only 180 k's away from Sydney then. So I thought, well, let's just do it. Let's just head down, butt up, and just get there. There's no way I could have stopped there. People were saying, why don't you just stop and then go back and start from where you stopped? And I have other plans ahead, and that was impossible. So I just let's keep going.
Brilliant.
So.
And so, what's been like the biggest kind of lesson that you've taken from it then?
The biggest lesson that it's a bigger problem than I ever thought it was. Going into the towns, each town I go into, it takes an odd-looking character to be pushing a cart into the town before the town starts talking about the mental health. And the response that I got in some of the towns was just unbelievable. And being called the town's newest local when I'd only been there 4 days. It's a huge privilege, and it shows me the effect that the walk actually had. By the response that I was getting from the towns, and having people coming up to me and talking to me and telling me stuff they wouldn't tell their partner of 20 years, and just being completely open to me and honest, and such a privilege, and to have people come up and feel confident and reach out, and that's what it's all about, and reach out and start talking about their mental health, and it was fantastic. On the other hand, I was hearing of suicide deaths every day for 7.5 months, and that took its toll as well. Like we've been given an emotion for a reason, and I see it as a valve to help us through our bad times, and us males, and we're bad for it. We won't show our emotions, and we're scared of being called weak or sissy or girl or whatever, but we're shown as weak if we've seen cry, and I parts of that journey were so emotional. I had no problems filming myself getting upset, because it was just, the whole journey was honest and raw right from the start, and I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that we can all just show compassion every now and then, and we're not as vicious as what's going on in the world these days is just crazy. We're just a crazy race. We'll go back to where we just stop all this crap that's going on these days. But yeah, that's a whole new walk. So.
Is there going to be another?
Of course, it's going to be another. I feel I need to keep the awareness going, and we're doing New Zealand next year.
Wow.
I wanted to actually leave on the 23rd of August this year, the same day as we left last year. The 23rd of August is a special day for me. It's the passing of my father's death, and it was more of a out of respect to Dad, and I wanted to kind of reconnect with him. So I wanted to keep the momentum going and head over to New Zealand in August and walk from top down to the south, down to the bottom, and because I had so much support from all my friends over home in New Zealand and my hometown of Mosgiel in the South Island, just out of Dunedin, and I have a few mates from home that are actually on the flag as well. So it's important. I think it's important if I go and do home as well. And I'm even that far ahead. I have something planned for when I come back. But that's so that's not going to happen until August next year now, and with all this virus and the borders and airports closed, and so Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. That's going to be great. Well, I'll make sure I get you back on once you do that walk then.
Sorry, mate. Door's going up again.
Oh, that's all right. Well, thank you very much, mate, for coming on and doing this. It's been really great to hear your story, and I'm looking forward to keeping in touch and seeing hearing more about the next trip.
Excellent. Thanks so much for letting me be involved and part of it, Richard. You know, it's just getting awareness out there again, isn't it? You know, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
No, not at all. So for anyone who is listening and wanting to check out your journey and what's coming up, that's at Walk for Hope, or is it on your music?
Hashtag Walk for Hope on the DNO music page. I think you might be able to find the link there somewhere and chuck it on there somewhere.
Yeah, it'll all be for anyone listening or watching. There'll be links to that in the description. So do make sure you check it out and share the story. Dino, thank you very much yet again, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you, mate.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.